Hello, in this presentation I will talk about this educational activity that is actually a drama activity, an education drama activity in which we go back to the 1950s in a Mediterranean small village. And here students explore the challenges faced by the communities of this village when actually their essential water supply is compromised, the water is cut. The activity, we believe, fosters empathy, creativity and teamwork as students embody the various characters and navigate the realities of scarcity and resource management from a distance, though, from today's lenses. It can be played with students over 8 years old. It takes around 3 hours, the whole framework, and you can do it all at once or break it. We suggest to break it into parts. As for the techniques, it applies the drama basic techniques, we would say, like the still frames, the moving pictures, the assembly. And regarding the materials, it doesn't need anything. It can be also played outside without PowerPoint or a PC. You just need some big fabrics, some post-it papers and markers. So if you're totally new to drama, you haven't tried it before, you might try it for the first time with a theater teacher to help you, or someone that has done it before to help you in your first try. And in case your students are new to drama, they haven't done it before, you can explain to them in advance some do's and don'ts. So what we will do in this activity, we will travel back in the 50s, we will get into the shoes of others, we will express our ideas and feelings using verbal and non-verbal ways like pantomima. We will be creative, engage in teamwork in a trustful manner in our teams, engage also in decision making and have fun. Drama is actually quite fun. We will not ignore the ideas of others. We will not be judgmental to others, neither to ourselves. We will hear in a positive way, so we will not reject contributions of our fellow students while we are building our story. Also, we will not formally act out a scene. So this is not a theatric play with a script and roles. It's something different. We expose, but we don't act the same way we act in a theater play. At the same time, we won't be afraid to try something new and get out of our comfort zone in order to express. So, in the first step, in the introduction, as a teacher, you introduce the historical context of the 50s and the lifestyle on a village in a Mediterranean island. At that time, we had no phones, no internet, of course, no electricity, and even no water supply at home. So people had to walk some distance to get to potable water of good quality. You just ask the students, how did the people live at that time, what were their occupations, what were their habits, how did the children of their age live, how did they play, and you start gathering ideas about the life in the 50s. If your students are too young, maybe you can use some optional photos. These are from Greece, but I suggest that you modify them to photos from your country. So what were the comics of that time? How did the women raise their young children while doing the work for home? how did they have fun, and what was like to work in the fields and things like that. So in the second step, we enter actually into the drama, and we explain to the student. The teacher is a narrator at this stage, so he explains to the students that in our story, the story that we will build, we all become inhabitants of this village. So each student thinks of a character, thinks of a role of one inhabitant. They think how old they are, how is their daily life and responsibilities, what is their profession, what do they do in the village, and how they move around, what is also their relationship to the others. So they can be, for example, farmers, they can be fishermen, they can do some work with their hands, make something. And at this stage, you use the post-it papers, so that you ask students to sketch something representing their character and their life on a small post-it paper, or you can actually use real objects like a basket, a ceramic jar, something, a metallic tool. It's important to remember that the roles come from the students. They choose their characters. They're not assigned by us. The next step has to do with the scenery. It takes longer, it takes around 45 minutes. So once you have already thought of our characters, and before telling to the others the characters, who we are, we set up the scenery using some fabrics in order to create this village. And you can use, chairs and things like that you find in the room in order to create some elevation. And then identify characteristic points in the village, like the main square, the church, or the beach, since we're talking about an island. And then each player introduces themselves and places his or her sketch in the village representing their house. When players talk, it's important to talk in the first person. So we are inside the drama already, so they talk through their character. They can build on each other's story. For example, they can be a relative to someone, a son of someone, a neighbor to someone. Also it's important to remember that they can add to the story and what was previously said, but they cannot change the characters of previously exposed players or spots in the village. They cannot move the homes of other players. So one by one, all the students place themselves in the village, and we listen to their stories, and that's why this step takes a long time, because it creates actually ownership and authenticity. What does it look like, this village? So these are some examples from workshops done for this activity. So you can see how the players have placed their homes, and you can see it also how it is in an outside outdoor setting. In case you do a break, this is the time to stop, and you go on the next time. Otherwise you continue. In case you break, the first thing you do when you come up is to set up again the village in exactly the same way as it was, and children always remember, of course, where their character was and where their home was in the village. to delve a little bit deeper into the water issue, students, into the life of the 1950s, students work in groups of 4 and create what is common in drama education, a still frame, to depict the daily life of a person, of a character that you tell them. For example, a farmer, a shepherd, a fisherman, a mother. What do still frames look like? You can show them in case they are beginners and haven't done it before. Insist that there is no laughing or there is no moving around in the still frames. So still images or still frames look like that. Students with their bodies and their shapes convey something dramatic. They convey to us, the viewers, something. Already by looking at them, we can imagine what is happening around them. And for this case, they could use prompts they can find around the room. So far the teacher has been a narrator, but at this step the teacher enters in role and becomes John, a 10-year-old boy that is tasked with bringing water for the community source. That can be a well, a spring, or a fountain. This is 10-minute donkey ride from the village. So he also places himself in the village or a little bit outside the village. He narrates his daily routine. He explains how he gathers water every morning and how this is important and how he goes there with a donkey and so on. When the teacher is in role, it is important to use a prompt. It can be a hat or something he wears or something he carries, in order for students to understand that the teacher, when he wears this prompt, he speaks through the role. And of course he speaks in the first person, like a 10-year-old boy. And he places, as I said, he places the well also in the setting. So in the next step, since we're talking about water, we give students the opportunity to delve deeper into what it's like to live in a community where water is not taken for granted. Again, we play with the still frames, but this time we add some movement, and groups can do the same activity having to do with water, as it was then compared to as it is now. So we can tell the groups to do a specific consumption habit, like washing dishes, or washing the clothes, or watering the garden. And again, they take these still frames and they add movement. So it's like a play and pause thing, and we can do it contrasting the two stories, like in a split screen. So they just need 5 minutes to prepare, and the teacher is the one who plays and pauses these scenes, and all the rest of the class views it. So after this activity, we come to the moment of tension or crisis. So the teacher again enters in the role of John, and announces that the well has run dry. That means that they have no potable water. So this is quite shocking, and he can talk in a dramatic way, announcing to the villagers that he went to the well and he found that it was dry, and that this is an emergency situation, and that they need to gather. Actually, the chief asks that the villagers will gather to see how they will respond to this emergency situation. The moment of tension or crisis is actually an unanticipated plot twist that forces the players to make a choice or act on a dilemma. This is essential in any drama activity. That is why students should not know in advance that the well will run dry. So they will know that they do a drama activity on water in 1950s before actually playing the drama. So in the next step, the teacher again comes in role. We have the assembly, so it should look something like that. The villagers get together this day. The teacher is again in role, but this time in the role of the chief of the village. And we give them some time. It can take maybe half an hour up to 45 minutes to reach a decision as to what to do, to consider the alternatives that they have. Maybe some of them already have water, maybe some of them think that they have cisterns, maybe some of them think of bringing water from somewhere else. And we hear a lot of interesting ideas from the students at this stage. So as chief, the teacher mostly listens and facilitates the discussion rather than talking himself. He does not give a solution. He let the characters, the students are in character and propose ideas. The teacher, of course, provokes, if it's necessary, to underline the urgency of the situation, to underline that in a few days they might not have enough water to drink, and what will they do in the village. And he's the one that chooses when to end the assembly. The final decision is taken by the students, but it's not necessarily a good one. It's not necessarily something that will serve their community. Maybe some egoistic personalities and characters will prevail and take advantage of a situation. We don't judge that. As long as the assembly agrees on this decision, we all agree to the decision. So in drama, we never know how the story ends. This is always created by the group and the dynamics and the ideas that they have through their characters. So after we give time to the assembly, we break it and we come back to today. We don't know actually how the story ended that day. We just know that the assembly reached the decision that we took. And again, the teacher as a narrator explains that today John is a grandfather and lives in a modern home with all the conveniences of running water. So he's still in the village, in his island, but life is totally different. So one day he comes across a scene that reminds him of that episode of his village, and he decides to write a letter or email to the municipality. What is this scene? So you present the students of a picture of the scene, and depending on your objectives, you choose what topic, what water scene you will show them. Will you show them something that takes them back to that era? Will you show them a picture of overconsumption, of wasting water, of how we use water today and how this is different than that time? You choose, and I suggest that you choose a picture, a photograph from your area, something that creates context to the student. So the evaluation of the activity is actually this letter, this email of John to the municipality, what will he write? Depending on the picture you have shown them, you let the students for a few minutes, each one writes a letter, and then you display the letters so everyone can read the letters of the other students. And this already is a form of evaluation, and also through stepping back to the, coming back to the today, the students get out of the role. It's important in the drama to have a distinction, a clear distinction when they're getting out of the role. And when they're outside their roles in drama, you can ask them also metacognitive questions, such like how did they experience embodying their character, if they had fun, if they had challenges, and what are their insights about the importance of water conservation, but in general other insights they had through experiencing the drama, and how they might apply these in their daily life. So that's it from my part. I hope I conveyed you the atmosphere of a drama, and I would suggest that you are not you don't hesitate. You try it out with your students because it's fun, and I think it's rewarding for both you and the class. More information about this you can find in the PARCCCE webpage. Thank you.